what's going on, guys? How are we doing? Welcome back to game number 9 in this best of 11 series between TyRanT BacT and SY So without further ado, let's unpause the game, let's turn off the fog of war, and let's kick off into it. Now, before we actually get to any of the Age of Empires 2 action, I feel like I owe you guys a wee bit of an apology for being somewhat slack in terms of uploading Age of Empires content over the past couple of months. I do have good reasons for it though. Obviously, one of them was Christmas and New Year's just had me a wee bit bogged down. I went home to visit my family, which is a lot of fun, and I didn't actually have a PC up there that I could stream Age of Empires from, which is a little bit unfortunate. I've also starting to look at handing in my thesis as well very soon, so I'm starting to get a wee bit busy with that. But the good news is, over the coming year, I'm only going to be doing, sort of educational work here and there for my university. So I should have a lot more time for Age of Empires 2 content that I can upload, which will be fantastic, I'm sure, for everyone involved. Speaking of which, let's have a look at the game that we're about to jump in and spectate now. So obviously it is game 9 between these two players, and out to the west of the map, playing in the blue trunks, we have SY and he's playing as the Goths today. His opponent up to the eastern corner of the map is the mighty TyRanT BacT, playing in the red, also playing as the Goths. Now, if you haven't been able to figure it out yet from the mini-map, or even just looking at the title on YouTube that this is going to be uploaded to, the map is Arabia. So we have a Goth war on Arabia, and these are always quite interesting as well. It's nice that these guys did decide to go for, sort of a different. They didn't just play Hun wars on Arabia. They did some Nomad. They did some islands, I think, in there. I think there's a Mongolia and stuff like that as well. But it is always nice to see Arabia every now and again chucked into these sorts of sets as well. And obviously using Goths, this is going to be quite an interesting matchup as well. Goths are a fantastically heavy infantry civilization, so I'm expecting that we could be seeing some drushes or maybe even some man-at-arms. Full man-at-arms into towers and just full feudal would be fantastic to see, and we can see BacT already putting 4 villages out to wood, indicative of something along the lines of a drush or man-at-arms. So let's have a look at their maps, because that does sometimes tell us quite a bit about what strategy they could go for. Now, BacT we saw before, as he shuffles his lumberjacks around, has a nice back wood line here, which is going to be quite easy to keep safe for him at the back of his base, especially since he can build a wall across this area to funnel off towards his town center. Out to the back sort of again of his base, he does have his main gold, which is always nice to see for him, nice and safe. Out to the front, he does have his main stone as well, a little bit exposed potentially from a tower that could be placed here from SY but BacT doing his best and his darndest to keep that safe by building 2 houses across the front of his base here, walling in towards these berries, which are on the front of his base, a little bit nasty, but not the end of the world for him anyway. Second gold out here on the front, and third gold out here on the front as well. So that's a little bit nasty for him, but he can wall off the back area of his base here quite easily. And if he funnels in towards his town center along both of these sorts of areas here, he's going to have back wood, back gold, and back ash stone or safe stone that he can take, which is going to put him in a really, really nice spot for the early game. His opponent, though, Lix, his map is not as nice. He does have his main gold out on the front, and not to mention it's sort of at the bottom of this valley here with the hills. I'm going to give BacT a really, really nice hill bonus, bit of an advantage pushing into Lix's base when he does decide to do that. Berries out on the front, just like we saw for BacT. Again, not too far away from the town centre, so he can run his pretty little butt back there if his villagers come under duress. Back woodline, just like BacT's as well, susceptible to a tower on this susceptible to a tower on this hill, which if BacT decides to do it would also cover the main stone for Lix, which is very, very heavily at the back of his base, but again behind this woodline. Although Lix does have the secondary woodline here that he can retreat to if need be, and we saw at the beginning of the game as well as I was zoning around that he does have his stone, a secondary stone, and extra gold piles well out to the front of his base, so he's going to need to be looking at quite heavy map control to be able to take them safely. Lix pushing in some deer now as well. that is more or less telling me that we're going to be expecting to see some sort of man-at-arms play from him. And again, the Goths having such cheap infantry going man-at-arms definitely makes sense. What's the scouting like for either of these players though? Well, BacT scouted his map. He knows exactly where all of his extra resources are, all of his main resources. So he's starting to push out now, and he's going to run he's going to run headlong into Lix TC, and yet there's Lix's TC and BacT. He's going to be able to avoid this. I feel like Lix is not going to want to stick around inside his TC for too long. All that idle time in the early game does actually add up to quite a bit as the game goes on, especially in these high level sorts of games. So BacT getting some nice scouting done on Lix's base here. He knows where his main gold is. He doesn't know that the barracks is coming up for SY Lix. Both players grabbing Loom now as well, so they're going to be clicking up to the feudal age in pretty much identical times, only a second difference, which does not matter in the slightest. The barracks has come up for SY Lix and two villagers moving out to gold, pushing all of his deer, which tells me that we are indeed going to be seeing man-at-arms play from him. BacT, on the other hand, not really giving us any indication, splitting his lumber, always nice to see. Always a fantastic thing to see. In case you get pushed off one lumber camp, you do have another to retreat to. Lix not going ahead and doing that. Obviously, he doesn't need as much wood since he has pushed a whole lot of deer, so his food income doesn't have to be supplemented by farms. But I imagine we're going to be seeing a barracks coming up any time now for BacT as he completes a little bit of a wall off first. The barracks, I can imagine, will be popping up for him anytime soon as he does push out, and looks like he's going to start taking some deer out here as well. Now, he's moving 3 villages out to gold, which to me is 1 extra than what you would need for any man-at-arms play. Oh no, he's going to wall, okay. Which means he could either be going for archers, or he could be going for really, really heavily into man-at-arms. But BacT knows exactly what Lix is up to. He's seen the barracks, he's seen the militia coming out from SY Lix, and he's going to start pushing out across the map very soon now as well. And my mistake, BacT actually went up on 23 population, which is more indicative to me of either archers or man-at-arms. But moving 3 villages out to gold, I imagine to be joined by this female one here. I can almost say for certain, I hope, cross my fingers, and let's hope that BacT doesn't make me look like a fool, that he's going to be going for man-at-arms as well. Although, of course, he hasn't started creating them yet, since the feudal age has not kicked in, and he doesn't get that cheaper bonus for the Goths. Man-at-arms coming in for SY Lix, along with double BitX as well, running into one of the wolves. T90 would be so incredibly happy to see that. The militia pushing out across the map now, soon to be man-at-arms from SY Lix, and Lix starting to create a little bit of a partial wall off here for his base out on the front with the houses there, which is all good to see. And here we go, we see double archery range coming up for BacT. So that's what I was saying before. It was either going to be man-at-arms, or it was either going to be double archers, seeing as though he had sent out quite a few villagers to wood, especially having gone up with 23 population as well. But here's the thing, Lix cannot get in. He's going to try and batter down these houses using the bonus that man-at-arms get against buildings and such, but these double archery ranges are going to come up. He's going to be able to start pumping out archers from 2 ranges, and BacT is going to be in a really, really nice position to push back this initial aggression from SY Lix. And Lix's response back at home hasn't added any more villages to gold. He's got a good number of villages on the wood, seeding a few more farms, and not creating, I don't think, any more man-at-arms, as that would be a little bit of a waste at this point, seeing as though he can't actually get into BacT's base at all. Maybe coming forward with some towers would be a really, really strong idea. A tower in this area here would be really nice, because it would zone pretty much all of BacT's wood income from this area and force him to relocate over to this lumber line here, which would not be as efficient, seeing as though there's a stone mine blocking a good portion of it. But BacT keeping the enemy at bay, pumping out a few archers. No fletching having been done, obviously, a little bit early for that, and he's sitting nice and safe and pretty behind his wall of houses and palisades now anyway. So, you know, getting out a few more archers to try and defend against this will put him in a really, really nice spot and allow him to go forward and put on the aggression. SY Lix, on the other hand, responding with an archery range, soon to be 2 of his own, and I imagine we're going to be seeing some defensive skirmishes coming out now that he sees that his man-at-arms are going to get slowly picked off by the archers from BacT. So there's not too much to be said from here, really. BacT obviously saw that Lix was going to be going for man-at-arms since he saw the barracks coming up, and it's a pretty pretty standard thing, I guess you could say, to do from the Goths anyway, obviously, since they do get those cheaper infantry units. But as we thought, as we predicted, Lick's chucking up, well, Blacksmith now as well, that's good to see. Lick's chucking up 2 archery ranges, getting out some defensive skirmishes, and a few skirmishes are going to put him in a really, really nice defensive position as BacT pushes out the map, across the map with his ranged units here, mixing in a couple of, or one, mixing in one skirmisher to try and negate any skirmisher defense that Lix might actually, or will have, since we know exactly what Lix is up to now. Fletching coming in for both of these players 2 seconds apart, absolutely identical so far in their uptime, or in their uptimes and their builds, but a house being denied here from from Lix. Could be a villager pick. This is sneaky, sneaky beaky, as Lix brings back his scout to try and deter this, but this is going to be a villager pick. It's going to be one more hit and this villager's dead, and that's a really, really cheeky pick from BacT. Puts him back on even terms, well, one ahead now, in terms of villager numbers compared to his opponent here. And this scout, if he doesn't get the heck out of there, he's going to lose that quite easily. Fletching done on for both of these players now. BacT pushing in with padded archer armor coming in. That's going to be a huge boost, especially to his archers here. Obviously, skirmish is fantastic counters to archers. The more archer armor and the more chance you give these archers to stay alive and do damage, the better. But for the time being, SY Lix clinging to the top of his hill, which is what we see so often in these high level games. Hills matter an incredible amount, and whoever controls this hill here is essentially going to control the entranceway to Lix's base. At the moment, that control does go to Lix, and he's clinging to the hill with his defensive skirmishes, and he's doing just fine. BacT, on the other hand, still creating archers and skirmishes. Back at home, 4 villagers out on the gold. Both players up on 34, 35 villages apiece, more or less, so economically, neither player really has the advantage here. Economy-wise, oh, yep, the farm numbers pretty much seem the same as well, so it truly is a neck-and-neck game here. The score difference here probably coming from the KD, if not a little bit of scouting. Now, scouting seems somewhat similar as well, but the KD, those wee kills that BacT has picked off Lix, is probably what's pushing his score in the lead at the moment. But again, a little bit of a scuffle here. Defender's advantage for Lix is going to be kicking in absolutely hugely here, and he's going to be able to push BacT away. Hopefully BacT doesn't retreat all the way back to his base. There would be no need to do that at all. He can just kind of cling to this plateau here and try and take the fights to Lix when he feels that he has enough numbers to do it. A few more skirmishes, maybe even some scouts. Mixing in some scouts here would be huge, but obviously doing so would would negate your push your castle time back quite a bit as well, sinking those food resources into more units like scouts. 80 food a pop, not exactly cheap. It looks like this villager out here for Lix is wanting to build something. What is it? It's a market. So Lix may be thinking that he wants to buy his way up to the castle age, although he doesn't really have any excess resources that he can do, but he has moved out onto stone here, and this could be huge. If Lix can get up to the castle age, quicker than his opponent, chuck down a castle and get some Huskarls, 2, 3, 4 Huskarls in this mixture here, for example, would be absolutely catastrophic for BacT. But while we say that, BacT is taking a really, really nice fight. Lix obviously focusing more of his resources and sinking them into his economy, as we can see from the military numbers here. 23 to BacT, 8 or 7 now to SY Lix. Lix obviously starting to queue up a few more units, thinking that, oh hell, actually, I might need to make some units here to defend my economy against this horde of archer units from BacT, and instead Lix is sending a little tirade of skirmishes out across the map, see what harassment he can do to his opponent. But obviously BacT is doing the same thing as what Lix is doing as well, and walling up his base such that their opponent cannot actually get in, and it's going to force both of these players here to take the fights in the open, and the victor is not really going to be able to do too much with said victory, since he is not going to be able to push into his opponent's base. BacT doing a similar thing to his opponent now, though, and pushing out to start taking his stone with quite a few villages as well, meaning that once he gets to the castle age, like both of these guys have just clicked up now, wheelbarrow having been done, obviously, giving a nice little economy boost to the food income for both of these guys. Looks like both of them are going to be wanting to start thinking about dropping a castle and getting into those Huskarl production in the Castle Age. Sometimes we see knights, if it's quite a prolonged feudal war and everyone's and the your opponent's going for skirmishes. Sometimes we'll see knights mixed into the fray, as obviously the Goths do get fully upgraded knights in the Castle Age. But this time around, it looks like both guys are wanting to go for the Castle Huskarl route instead. Defensive watchtower being thrown up just outside this main gold here, or just in front of this main gold rather, from SY Lix, which is a fantastic idea in my opinion, since this horde of archers here, it looks like they were looking pretty menacing to be able to push in against this house. Only 260 HP left on that one, and a little bit of a scuffle here between the archers and skirmishers of BacT and Lix as well. Lix is going to come out on top, quite literally, as he clings to the top of this hill in this little scuffle here, while BacT's archers back inside, just outside Lix's base, can literally not get in to do a gosh darn thing. Both players quite secure, quite comfortable, quite safe in their bases at the moment, although I would say that I kind of prefer Lix's layout because his walls have at least encompassed his second and third gold as well as his other stone as well, whereas BacT's only encompasses main gold and main stone. So in that case, BacT is going to have a little bit of map control to be able to safely push out and start taking his extra resources as the game progresses, whereas Lix can just sit, he can sit comfortable and pretty behind his walls and not have to worry too much about it. Crossbowman and Bodkin era coming in for BacT and Bowsaw for SY Lix obviously makes sense with all the archer units that BacT does actually have here, but Lix doing the perfect inadvertent counter here as he throws down a castle inside his economy. This is going to keep the whole front portion of his economy safe, at least until the Imperial Age kicks in, where you get some decent siege units that can actually start pushing into your opponent's base, especially since we're going to be seeing some Huskarls come out from Lix as well. A few Huskarls in this mixture here with a few upgrades is really going to be easily able to clean up this army here from BacT, and a monastery also being thrown up for Lix as well, maybe in preparation for any potential knights that BacT might follow this aggression up with, and a castle coming up on the front of BacT's base as well. Like I said, sometimes knights are a viable option for for Goth Wars, whereas now BacT is starting to push in with his crossbow and skirmisher mixture of an army and realize, hey, Lix is actually walled up towards his castle. He's got a castle out. I can see the Huskarls starting to come out now as well. So clearly, I'm not going to be able to do too much damage with archer units or ranged units. Good thing that his castle, as well as a monastery for him, has come up as well. Maybe looking to get some converts in any fights that these guys decide to take against each other as well, maybe looking to just push out and start taking the relics. And it looks like, yeah, Lix is already onto that. He's already well ahead of the game, moving some units out here to the far north of the map, trying to secure that relic for himself, as he does have one relic. Well, two relics right outside his base, and a third one not too far either, hop, skip, and a jump away, whereas BacT is going to have to do a little bit of fighting to secure this relic out here to the south of the map. Huskarl's coming out for both players now, though, even on upgrades, i.e. neither of them have any melee upgrades. And in terms of town centers, both of them have, well, up goes Lix with 2 extra town centers. I was about to say that they've both foregone extra town centers in favour of spending the stone on their castle, but Lix, obviously having moved out to stone a wee bit earlier, can afford to go ahead and chuck down those extra town centers a wee bit quicker than his opponent, and obviously not having sunk as many resources into archer units and the like, he's going to be in a good spot as well compared to BacT to have the wood to be able to throw up those extra town centers. We can see Bowsaw now coming in for BacT as well, always a fantastic upgrade to grab. As the two players start bringing in relics, Lix here, you can see in the spectator overlay, has one relic in his possession, whereas BacT has none. And there seems to be a bit of a scuffle here between the two players, and we can see that Lix comes out on top, obviously, since there's 5 Huskarls here against the poor little 1 Huskarl for BacT, and BacT now knows that his opponent is also going for Huskarls. Lix also knows that his opponent is going for Huskarls, and I can only imagine that once this game goes late, we're going to see a champion and maybe a hand cannon switch as well, since that is pretty much the meta for Goth Wars. Um, in these sorts of high-level games. Obviously, it's a fantastic idea if you have a Goth v Goth war, because Goths counter Goths quite conclusively. You want to go Huskarls, your opponent can go Champs. Your opponent goes Champs, you can go Hand Cannons, and if you go Hand Cannons, you can switch back to Huskarls if you like, even though Hand Cannons do a fantastic... Well, that was savage! What in the hell was that all about? I hope that was a misclick, and that was ruthless. I'm not entirely sure what BacT was playing at there, but no one is going to be on his side if he goes around and brutally murders there for no reason at all. But here we go, contingency of archers, contingency of Huskarls moving out across the map very, very slowly, since the monk is in tow as well for BacT. And he's pushing out to see what sort of damage he can do with his almost more than 3 times the amount of military of his than his opponent here. Obviously, Lix's base is quite heavily secured though. Seeing as though he does have a castle at the front of his base, as well as 2 extra town centres controlling his golds and another wood line here as well. So economically, we can see that Lix pulling ahead 10 villages in the lead for him. As BacT only throws up his extra, or his second town centre, I believe now. I don't see any third town centre coming up at the back of his base now as well, but a little bit behind his opponent Lix, who is now bringing in his second relic as well, the one up here toward the north of the map, still sort of on lockdown, I guess, by this 3 HP skirmisher from BacT, as a third town centre comes up for him now, tasked to wood, and now the economy of BacT is going to start kicking into overdrive. But in terms of, yeah, I mean, BacT, his army, yep, sure, his army numbers are quite heavily in favour of him, obviously, but a good chunk of it are ranged units, and if Lix is, oh, okay, Lix is up, Lix is clicked up. That's a fantastic uptime going up to the Imperial Age. And if he can get the element of surprise and really start sinking his resources now, I imagine we're going to start seeing some barracks coming down at the front of his base. And yep, barracks coming up. Very good. But what I was saying, most of the army from BacT here, it looks like a scary number, but it's ranged units. And what the heck do ranged units do against Huskarls? Absolutely nothing. Although the monks coming in here from BacT are fantastic. 2 free conversions on the Huskarls here from SY Lix. Lix was really, really clueless there. Squire's coming in as well, just to try and give his his melee units a little bit of extra pace. But BacT is starting to actually look a little bit scary in terms of his army numbers and maybe potential to be able to push into Lix's economy as well. Lix, obviously having sunk so many resources into going up to the Imperial Age, doesn't quite have the resources to be able to start sustaining a heck of a lot of military production. Obviously his economy going up to the Imperial Age is going to be a lot weaker than BacT's when he decides to click up as well. But he is starting to move out now. He's got some Huskarls here with +1 defense, running headlong into a castle. 1 Huskarl goes down, 1 gets converted. Are we going to see some more conversions here? There's 2 monks in the back here, and this is a poor fight from Lix. Trying to focus down the monks, which is fair enough, but the monk still gets another conversion, and Lix losing out there hugely. 3 or 4 Huskarls converted there, and changing sides to go and fight for the red team under the influence of TyRanT BacT, as Anarchy has already been researched here for SY Lix as well. Let me just turn down that game sound a wee bit, because I feel like I'm actually yelling to be able to try and get any of this. Let's see if I can do this. How's that? That's actually got no sound, so we need to change that. Again, unfortunately, my mistake, guys. 1 sec. Let me see if I can do it nice and subtly. That changed absolutely nothing, so we're just going to have to make do with what we have here. Going up to the Imperial Age is SY Lix, as BacT clicks up not too far behind either. Forging coming in now as well for SY Lix, and we are seeing Huskarls being thrown into the mixture, and this is going to be an incredibly, incredibly important fight once Lix's Imperial Age research comes in. He's only thrown down an extra barrack, so he's only got 2 barracks Huskarl production. Are we going to be seeing elite Huskarl coming in straight away? Well, no, because he does not have the resources for it. Obviously, having clicked up the Imperial Age with so few villages compared to his opponent means that he's not going to be able to chuck down or get those all-important upgrades right off the bat. This relic up to the north of the map, still staying, oh, sneaky, still staying safe under the influence of this 1 3 HP skirmisher from TyRanT BacT. But here we go, the Imperial Age coming in now, and I do believe that I saw men-at-arms having been researched. I think it must have been by BacT. Obviously, he sees that his opponent is going to be going pretty heavily into Huskarls here, as a big fight comes in here just outside Elixir's base, clearly we can see that all the ranged units here just getting chewed up and spat back out for BacT, which is why I was saying that, you know, the army numbers weren't actually that scary for for BacT, since it was going to be Huskarls up against them anyway. But BacT, inadvertently or not, having taken that fight really, really well. The monks behind the Huskarls of his doing absolute work as he manages to push back the initial push from the elite Huskarls. Now the elite Huskarls from SY Lix switching into man at arms to try and counter his opponent. This is what I was saying at the beginning of the game as well. It's so easy for the Goths to counter the Goths, and we can see Forging again coming in for SY Lix. Although I think that could also have been for BacT that I saw before, and I'd like to point out as well that Lix has pushed out to the north of the map and taking one of the extra golds as well, securing that with a town centre. But now BacT forcing Lix's hand, and out come the Huskarls, trying to focus down the monks, which is fair enough, but at the same time he's going to lose all of his army here. He's going to lose it all as the Huskarls focus down the monks, and BacT's Huskarls can focus down the Huskarls of SY Lix without even worrying at all. Long swordsman coming in for both players here, and this is what we always see. We see the classic switch from Huskarls into a bit of a pause here, so the game might stutter in a few seconds time. Don't worry about that, but we always see the switch, or most often see the switch from Huskarls into champions, and then we should be seeing a university with some archery ranges being thrown down as well to try and counter any champions, and or at the moment two-handed swordsman and long swordsman being thrown out for each of these players. What is BacT doing? Well, he is starting to build forward a little bit. It's just castle hopping his way forward, and also throwing down some extra barracks as well. We can see monks still being thrown out as two-handed swordsman now comes in for BacT as well. Long swordsman having been done already, and the Imperial Age upgrades starting to flow thick and fast of both of these players here as well. Lix getting housed a little bit, not the end of the world, but it is very, very easy to house yourself with the Goths, especially once conscription and perfusion come in as well. Bit of a scuffle in here, and it's going to be quite hard for me to determine who actually is going to come out on top. The numbers quite heavily in favour of TyRanT BacT, but a lot of two-handed swordsmen in here as well. Oh shit, sorry, no, red is BacT. Yeah, no, this should go in favor of BacT. He's got a lot of two-handed swordsmen in here, which are going to absolutely melt away the Huskarls from Lix. But in saying that, maybe the defender's advantage will be playing quite a big role here for SY Lix. But no. What am I saying? BacT taking that fight really well and really conclusively. Are we going to be seeing any... No, we're not seeing any switch into hand cannons yet. Lix just going to rely on the fact that he does have the defender's advantage, as well as very, very quick, very fast producing military production buildings under the influence of the Goth. The Goth bonuses bringing forward a Treb now going to start trying to treb down the castle, and if not the castle, then any of the military production buildings around Lix's base, or the engines of Lix's base. And we can see an absolute shite ton of barracks being thrown down now for Lix, which is going to only help him as he tries to defend this relentless push that BacT is putting him under, as well as all the pressure that BacT is eliciting to Lix as well. Getting a nice hill bonus here are the Trebs from BacT, and it's going to come down, I believe, to one huge fight. Champion coming in now for BacT as Blast Furnace is being researched for Lix, and this is going to be a huge fight. Lix is just going to bide his time. He's going to get as many champions out as he can, and then he's going to start pushing in and hopefully use the defender's advantage and be able to take the top of this hill back. This is what I was saying in the feudal age. This hill is going to be really pivotal in defending Lix's base. If Lix can hold the top of that hill, he's going to be in a really good spot to both defend as well as push out and start taking the fights to his opponent. But if he loses it and he succumbs to the pressure that is TyRanT BacT, then he's going to be in a really difficult spot. The castle down, the archery range is coming down now as well, under fire from the trebuchets of BacT, and Lix has decided that now is the moment. We can see even military numbers, so it's just going to come down to patrolling. It's going to come down to defender's advantage. It's going to come down to upgrades. The numbers do not matter in this particular point. More barracks being thrown down for SY Lix as well, as BacT still has some elite Huskarls left over from some of the earlier forays, and now he's going to start sending them into Lix's basing, as Lix does not have a castle to try and prevent any such thing happening, as BacT has moved out now as well to start taking this extra gold. And we can see a cheeky barracks being thrown down. Does BacT see this? I don't think he does. No. Oh well, He can see the edge of it. He can see the edge of the building here. It would take the eyes of a hawk to be able to notice that, and amongst all the other pressure and all the other business that's going on in other areas of the map. But Lick's getting a little bit cheeky here and chucking down some barracks up here toward the north of BacT space. I imagine we're going to be seeing Huskarls. Yeah, we are going to be seeing Huskarls. Obviously, sending Huskarls into BacT's economy at this stage would be absolutely devastating for BacT. But has BacT actually noticed it? Yeah, he has. He's noticed it now. He can chuck up some barracks of his own. He's going to get up some champions, and it looks like BacT is going to be absolutely fine. In the middle of the map, Lix has managed to take back, he's claimed back his homeland, he's taken back the hill, but now he's got another issue and he has to try and push up this hill here that BacT, again, is so far and currently holding, and this is in much the same tread as what we saw out of the front of Lix's base, where BacT needs to control this hill if he wants to have an easier time defending against the might that is SY Lix, but Lix sending in the elite Huskarls now, all he needs to do is just stream these bad boys, mix in some champions and stream them into the economy of BacT, and BacT is going to have a really difficult time keeping military production going. This town centre, no fletching even done on it at all. These elite Huskarls just genuinely do not care about what's going on, but there's a huge fight down here at the south of the map as well. There is stuff going on everywhere. Another castle being dropped at the south of the map for Lix, trying to secure some extra gold, and it looks like this fight down here is going to go quite heavily in favour of BacT. Reinforcements coming in for Lix here. The elite Huskarls not really going to be providing too much damage there, and BacT, in my opinion, is going to be taking that fight quite conclusively as well. The castle out to the south not quite being denied here from Lix. That's going to go up quite easily as well. BacT selling a little bit of wood, getting a bit of extra gold, always nice. He's managed to lock off this front area of his base, but unfortunately there is a champion still buzzing around, causing a little bit of damage. Champions coming back now as well, as having been spawned for BacT, looking to try and stop this immense pressure coming in from Lix. Trebs lying idle in the middle of the map. Obviously they're not going to be used. They're not going to be too useful at this point in time, but Lux is pushing forward, and he's doing so with such a vengeance. Absolutely crazy. Maybe some hand cannons being mixed in here would be a really nice addition, but at the same time, you can reinforce your army so quickly coming from the barracks units with the Goths that why would you really want to mix in hand cannons apart from maybe a little bit of extra firepower and a little bit of extra damage being done to those infantry units. BacT able to, for the time being, stem the flow of units coming into his base, but down in the south, the Trebs no longer idle. He's moved them out and he's starting to take down this extra castle, or the castle protecting the extra gold here from Lix. Lix recognizing the situation, moving some champions over here, trying to stop this going down. Villagers desperately trying to repair the castle, but this castle, under the fire of 3 Trebs, was always going to go down, and that's a bit of a blow for Lix, as BacT now pushes out with quite a large contingency of champions, seeing what damage he can do to his opponent. Looks like he's sick and tired of having to try and defend. He's going to try and start to push out again. These Trebs here, looks like they're going to be focused down by SY Lix, which is fair enough. They are expensive units. 200 wood and 200 gold at this stage of the game is quite an expensive investment. And if Lix can pick them off, that's going to be a really nice position to put himself in as well. The economy is both players here. Lix on a heck load more villages, which makes a lot of sense as the Goths are a very hungry civilization. They need a lot of food to maintain their huge armies of infantry. These houses not going to stand up to much, really. These champions may as well be petards, and it looks like there's actually a hole there anyway, or it could have been a palisade wall, not entirely sure, but Lix's reaction time pretty on top of it as he starts to bring his villagers back inside the town centre. But in saying that, Lix has actually found a way inside BacT's base as well. We just saw one house wall go down, and it looks like we missed another house wall go down here for BacT's economy, and oh my goodness gracious me, there are going to be Huskarls, there are going to be champions, Gothic Huskarls coming into the economy here of BacT, as BacT manages to clean up the little bit of little pocket of gold mining down here from Lix as well. And it looks like it's almost going to be a base trade, as BacT is inside Lix's economy and Lix is inside BacT's economy. Both players obviously have military production buildings on the ready to be able to pull back units to try and defend their own economies. But at the same time, it's looking pretty dicey for both players. 108 villages to 94, so economically, both players are looking in very similar positions. What about the resource count? Well, they've both got quite a lot of resources. Obviously, Gothic champions and Gothic Huskarls quite cheap on the food and gold as well. We saw that BacT was trying to throw up a cheeky barracks here outside Lix's economy. None of that, says Lix, as he throws up a castle to stop any sort of funny business like that happening again. But looking over at BacT's base, we can just see we can see a town centre got taken down by the champions and Huskarls of Lix, and now Lix is just sending unit after unit after unit, flooding them into BacT's economy as BacT desperately tries to hold on, and for the first time in quite a while, Lix has actually taken the score lead. And here we go, Lix has managed to take down another town centre out here that BacT was using to protect his gold. BacT throwing up another town centre, looking to get a little bit more, a few more villages, potentially 84 villages, not quite enough to sustain the production that he is looking to sustain from all the barracks that he has dotted around the map. But in saying that, Lix, what is he doing? Well, it looks like he's going to try and start it looks like he's going to try and stop this little tirade of champions walking into his base and causing the same sort of havoc that he just did to his opponent. A few more houses coming up, because why not? Extra population room, always nice for the Goths. And at this stage, if Lix can just kind of keep the momentum going, keep snowballing what all the good work that he's just done out here to the north of the map, to the north of BacT's map, he's going to be in a really, really good spot. But at the same time, it looks like he's pulling quite a few, pretty much all of his forces, all of his army back to try and deal with BacT's little excursion into his base as well. A few champions running rampant in the back of Lix's base. And goodness me, that was an incredibly busy little sequence of Age of Empires 2 there. I hope we all enjoyed it. The game is still going, so stick around. It's starting to heat up now as well. We can see 3 relics for BacT as he quick walls out these champions that are coming in now as well. It doesn't look like there's any hole there. No, indeed there is not. But we've already seen how quickly a house can go down, and just like that, a house has gone down quite quickly as well. Champion after champion after champion now being streamed in to BacT's economy. The scores very, very even, only 400 points in it at the moment. It's really not looking too in favor of any one person, although in saying that, the military numbers are hugely in favor of SY Lix. Where is all his military? All his military, there's some coming down to the south of the map, there's some buzzing around the north of the map, there's some trying to find their way into BacT's economy as BacT has thrown up another town, or a town centre, to replace his old one. And Lix obviously does have quite a few idle military units there as well. He has 30 more military at this stage in the game than his opponent, and he would do well to start using it and pushing in as well. It looks like an offensive castle, not quite right in the face of BacT, but if he does manage to get this castle up, it's going to zone off this gold here as BacT tries to throw up a town centre to try and secure it. Looks like the town centre is going to go up quite easily. Oh, and saying that, I could be wrong as well, but it looks like it will go up. But under the under the fire of this castle that Lix has thrown up, it's not really going to be doing too much. Bodkin arrow now coming in for Lix as well, as the champions from him start to go to town on the town centre in the south of BacT's economy. It looks like BacT is just starting to be spread too thin. He's managing to repel the army at the north of the map. This castle still looks like it's going to go up, but at the same time he's got to deal with this crap coming in down here from Lix at the south of his map, and he's starting to spread some units down there now as well. But at the same time, coming in through the guts of BacT's economy is a little handful more of more champions. Like I said, this castle, 85%, looks like it's going to go up, especially since there are barracks here that's going to help Lix reinforce his army, and he's keeping BacT busy in other areas of his economy as well. This castle is going to be huge. That gold, you can kiss goodbye to that for now. It's going to give Lix a nice place that he can fall back to if he starts to get overwhelmed by champions. Obviously, champions not doing terribly well in the face of arrow fire. Town Watch, why not? Get the upgrades. You may as well try and put your score ahead of your opponents by getting those researchers in thick and fast as well. What have we got here? We've got 180 pop down to 115 in comparison between Lix and BacT. BacT bringing out a Treb. He wants this castle down. He recognizes the importance of this castle, but it looks like Lix is going to start moving some champions in and really focus firing down that Treb. But you can just see there is so many more blue units or blue dots on this map compared to red, and it looks like BacT might be in a little bit of a precarious position here. I'm not really sure where it went wrong for him, but somewhere along the line he's taken a bad fight and he recognizes the situation now and he's called GG. And oh my goodness gracious me, what a game. Goth was always so intense just because of the speed with which you can reinforce your army and replenish it. I can't honestly say where BacT lost that game. He must have taken a bad fight somewhere, or maybe he just didn't defend well enough against this push in the start. But at the end of the day, it just looked like more military, uh, more military in favor of Lix. Lix clearly did more damage to BacT's economy with that little excursion into his base, and BacT just couldn't quite make it work when he punched through this hole here and failed the barracks drop outside the front of Lix's base. So at the end of the day, Lix more army and did more economic damage to his opponent. Not sure if there was any one fight that really turned it, but at the end of the day, that's how the cookie crumbles, and that's what happened in this game as well. So well played to SY Licks, taking game number 9, making the series 5-4 overall. So thanks for tuning in to this one, boys, and tune in to the next one where I believe it will be game 10. So we're nearly at the end of this, best of 11 series, with the score being 5-4 so far. It's looking like it's going to be absolutely nuts. So tune in next time, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.